Welcome to the Pelvic Pod. I'm Jen Bainbridge, and in this episode, we are looking at a topic of incontinence from a different and equally important perspective, and that is of the carer. If you're caring for someone dealing with bladder and bowel issues, and you know that it can be challenging, then this is the podcast for you. It requires patience, compassion, and often a lot of practical know-how. But here's what doesn't get talked about enough. Carers need support too. With around 1 in 4 New Zealanders living with incontinence, behind those people is a family member, friend, or professional carer doing their best to help them. Yet carers often feel isolated, unsure where to turn, and they're also hesitant about where to ask for help. So Continence NZ has a mission to support and empower those living with incontinence and those who care for them. So if you're caring for someone with incontinence, this episode is absolutely for you, as I said, and it made complete sense for this episode to bring in Laurie Hilsgen, because Laurie is the co-founder and CEO of Carers NZ, an organisation dedicated to supporting the hundreds of thousands of New Zealanders who care for family or friends with disabilities, illness or age-related needs. She's got a deep understanding and lived experience of the challenges that carers have, from physical and emotional strain to navigating complex health systems. Laurie is a compassionate and humble, I will definitely say the humble part, advocate for ensuring that carers have access to the resources, the recognition and the support that they need. Under her leadership, Carers NZ works to amplify the voices of carers and improve their wellbeing. So let's hear how amazing her work is. Welcome, Laurie.
Oh, thank you. That was quite an introduction.
Oh, well, I'm glad. It's very deserved. And when I spoke to you in pre-interviews, I was so blown away by how many organisations you work with and how many people are affected by this issue. So let's start with, what does Carers NZ do?
So Carers NZ is a national charity. It's a peak body in quotes, which sounds grander than it is. It means that we only do cares. And that's all ages, all geographic locations, all ethnicities. And instead of being a big not-for-profit, we work in partnership. It makes sense to do that in a small country. Yeah. So we made that decision way back in 2004. We wouldn't have regional branches everywhere. We would work with others. So we created the Carers Alliance, which is now 60 national not-for-profits. And all of us support carers, and all of us work with people who need to know more about continence.
That's incredible. What actually led you, though, to set up this charity? Was it something that happened in your personal life or something you knew? Or
I was a business journalist way back then. I was living in Auckland, and my partner lived in the far north. That's where he lived, so we had a commuting long-distance relationship.
Romantic.
But then he had a massive stroke, and it happened overnight, which is a common story. You know, caring can happen suddenly or it can happen over time.
Yeah.
For me, it happened suddenly with a very independent person who just suddenly needed help with absolutely everything. I had no experience caring, so I immediately moved up there. And I was lucky to be able to keep remote working and figure all that side of things out. But one of the things that happened for him was he had immediate bowel and bladder support needs. He needed help with all of the activities of daily living. So it was a huge life adjustment, a huge emotional adjustment. You know, continence affects every part of your life when you're figuring that out. And I thought, this is crazy. There's absolutely no information for me as a carer. The focus was completely on my partner as the patient or focus of health. And I just didn't like that. I was living in a remote rural area. My family all live overseas. Most of my friends lived in Auckland. So it is incredibly isolating when these things happen. And you're thrown in at the deep end. And that was the case on so many fronts, including So I created Carers New Zealand to put some lens on the carer so that we can give them information, advice, and support. So it started with me, then another much older woman who lived down in Aotearoa, who knew everything there was to know about community supports. And I learned a huge amount from her. And we created Carers New Zealand together. Wow. Dot McCaw, she's long gone now, but I still hear her voice in my ear almost every day. Yeah.
I love that. And so when was this? Was this a long time
That was
ago?
in the mid-1990s.
So it wasn't a website then?
There was nothing. There wasn't even a brochure for carers then.
Yeah.
And if you would talk to a health professional and say, well, how do other people cope with this? The answer was always, well, they just do. And we didn't think that was good enough. So that's the genesis of Carers New Zealand. Most countries do have a peak body for carers, and so we had some good mentors from other countries. But if you could look ahead and see how hard it was, you'd probably never do such things, would you? But today, we are a network ourselves of 80,000 people and organizations, and then through the Carers Alliance, it would touch most New Zealanders' lives one way or the other.
That's the baffling part of it. The numbers are so high, but again, it's not really anything that people are really generally talking about, are they?
Well, it's so hidden.
In your community,
it's something
perhaps,
you always just do for your family or whānau, and it might be something that we would all do, like helping someone with shopping or vacuuming or the odd medical appointment.
Yeah.
But as someone's needs grow, or they are, like mine was substantial overnight, it's a lot to take on, and it takes over more of your life, your work, where you live, your family relationships, your emotions, your ability to participate or not in your own social life or hobbies. Carers need help too, a lot of help.
So it's fair to say your most challenging part of being a carer was that isolation and lack of information, and hence why you set up Carers NZ, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so what did it start
You feel
with?
alone. You feel like you're the only one. You do feel very isolated. Like we've just done our second State of Caring survey. 1,700 carers spent an hour completing that survey.
Great.
And that report shows that about 90% of family carers feel lonely and isolated. 3/4 experience depression and anxiety. Numbers way above what the average New Zealander experiences. And so we have to care more about them. And one of the contributing causes of stress is helping someone manage continence.
Yes, and that's the next question. So how does that impact them, dealing with someone managing somebody else's continence issues?
Well, there's a lot you need to know, including that you should think about maybe when you want to say, no, I will not do that particular task. That is something you don't feel permission to say, well, no, I'm not going to do manual enemas with my partner, or I'm not going to do, certain tasks that will erode the intimacy we have as a couple or as a parent. Or, there's a lot that you kind of just get thrown into and you just think, oh, well, I'd better do that. That's part of my role. But there's a lot of nuances in there that we should all think about for ourselves and others in our family if they have that role.
So if they don't do it, who does do it then?
Exactly.
Yeah. Is there help that you can bring in to do those jobs that can cross those lines that you described there?
Well, I suppose we should start at the beginning of it because a lot of people and a lot of carers have continence needs themselves. Like it's a big social issue across everybody. And then if you need help to care for your bowel and bladder needs, then it's you're a team. But it can come with lots of things. Like, for me, I got thrown in at the deep end. I had never helped someone. We were waking up in a wet bed every night 3 or 4 times. So you had the washing, you had the loss of dignity, you had the what does this mean? What help is there available? And it really wasn't responsive at that time in the rural area where I lived. And then I realized in my community there were lots of other people experiencing this too. I didn't know there was a continence helpline. I didn't know that in New Zealand, in our public health system, products are available free based on need. I didn't know about the different kinds of products. Like, I still feel so passionately about it. You should not have to learn the hard way what products there are, how to access them, what you might need to pay for yourself. There's just so many issues in it. But there are products to help. And some of them are publicly funded. And in the first instance, you need an assessment. You need a continence assessment by a professional, which you can organize through the helpline or the continence helpline or talk to your GP. But don't just buy products and live with it because some things can be fixed. Everybody needs to know what's causing the bowel or bladder issue. and
Yeah.
then what products can help you. That was
I think
quite
you're
the journey.
so right with that one, because you see ads for 10 Lady and things like that, and just think, oh,
Yes.
okay, so that's just what's going to happen. I was going to get
Yes,
to that point,
exactly.
and that's what I have to do. But
Exactly.
what you're saying is you call the Continence hotline, and they will organise an assessment for you to
They'll
figure out
help
what
you.
needs to happen next.
Well, and tell you
Yeah.
about things like it really is heartbreaking, even after all these years of Cares New Zealand, when you talk to people who say, oh, well, I'm finally going to ask about this and get some help. Because as well as the free continence products from the public health system, if you need them, there's things like the disability allowance, which is, some money you can get every week to help you with costs other Kiwis don't have, like, medical visits or treatments or continence products.
Oh, so you can get the disability allowance for a
Yes.
continence issue.
Yes, it can be
fascinating.
used for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're right. What
Don't
about
ask
the
me how much. I
information?
think it's about $70 a week, and it is a bit of a nuisance to apply for it. You have to go through your
Yeah.
GP and so on, but it's worth having.
Of course it is. Of course
Yeah.
it is. And yet to know that those products that can really help that are funded, and again,
Yes.
a lot of people don't know that.
Well, so like in our case, because I look back on this, if we had known there were spill-proof urine bottles, so at night, my partner on his wobbly post-stroke balance issues, body, he didn't have to get up to go to the bathroom and risk having a fall, because we did have quite a few of those. He could use a spill-proof urine bottle. The bed wouldn't get wet, and it was $90, and we had 2 of those so that we could always have a clean one and one that was, you learn these things over time, and then that you can get with your disability allowance, or you might buy it yourself, go to your local disability information center, and they will sort you out and help you see what's available, or a continence nurse or OT. We didn't know you could have washable bed pads. And so if we put those on at night, if you did have leakage or whatever, it wouldn't wet the whole bed. It would wet that. And so we had 3 of those that went in the car or on the chair. It just made life more dignified, and you felt reassured that no matter what, you could handle that. And then over time, I learned there were things called Uroderms, which is like a condom, adhesive condom that goes onto the penis. It attaches to a urine bag, and I learned to put that in an ice cream container at night, because sometimes they have pinprick holes. Not fun to wake up to puddles of urine everywhere. But that allowed both of us to get a good night's sleep, and without that, everything falls apart.
It's just so overwhelming what you're describing there. How did you cope?
Probably not very well. I think that I got very burned out over time, and continence was a big part of it, because we also had bowel continence management needs, and we were dealing sometimes with constipation. Sometimes people experience severe diarrhea. We did that for 18 months, and it turned out to be a side effect of his antidepressant.
I was going to ask, was it medication?
The doctor swore that wasn't a side effect, but as soon as we said, forget it, we're stopping this, that problem stopped. And when I think of the misery we had for 18 months,
It's a long time.
because then what happens, and I'm sure lots of your listeners will know about this, you think, I'm not going to go out because what could happen? Like we had that at Peck and Save in Kaitaia once, where in the early days we didn't realize you could have pads where, even if you leaked or started weeing or whatever, no one would ever know. But we had the experience of weeing all through all the aisles of Peck and Save in Kaitaia. And finally at the produce department, I just said, let's go.
Yeah.
I didn't say anything to anyone.
Let's hightail it.
We hightailed it. But, with the right products, you don't have to hightail it. It's all going to be fine.
Yeah. And when you talk about the products, so I know about 10 Lady, the pads. What other products are there these days?
There are great products. Like if you buy things at the chemist or the supermarket, they're lovely. They're not plasticky anymore. Yep. They don't rustle. They feel good. But the point is, if you haven't had the assessment, you're doing yourself a disservice, because you need to find out what's causing the continence issue.
Yeah.
And to get an assessment, and whether surgery or medication or the right products, you need that expert advice. And that's what Continence New Zealand does.
Do the assessments cost money for those curious about that?
No, if you have a continence need, you can get that organised.
That's great. That's so great.
We are very lucky to live in New Zealand where we have these things. It's just that more people need to know about it. Not everyone knows.
Yeah, and that's where you come in as well with Carers NZ. So obviously there's all this information at your website, and do you have a helpline? Do you just answer phone calls all day, emails? Like, what sort of form of support does your
So we do
look like?
information, advice, and support, and we certainly don't support every care in New Zealand. There are a million New Zealanders care for a friend or family member, and that ranges from quite modest things that you do up to the 24/7 intensive situations where you are likely to be dealing with continence needs. But so we do have a helpline. It's open during business hours, and a lot of our callers, the first thing is, in a quiet little voice, I don't know who to talk to, but I think it's time that we talk to someone. I'm really struggling with this myself, or with someone that I'm supporting. And it's so wonderful to be able to say there is a publicly funded 0800 number and people at Continence New Zealand who will help you with all of this.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
It's absolutely amazing.
Can I just put in a plug too? Because I was on the board of Continence New Zealand for quite a while, because this is something we all need to think about. And they get such a modest amount of funding to run the helpline. And we live in an aging society. They need more money. They need more support. They need to be there for people, because the people need this kind of advice and help.
Yes, all right.
And I also think, I suppose Continence New Zealand can't say it, but I can say it, is that because we have a publicly funded health system where some products at least are free, I think these companies that get these major public funding contracts have a social obligation to contribute to an organization like Continence New Zealand and its public education, because it's just such an important thing to, make this private concern.
Let's talk about it. That's why we're here, Laurie. Exactly.
Yeah.
We're
so
normalising
come on,
this
guys. Come on,
conversation.
you big companies. Put more money into things like Continence New Zealand. Don't try and do it yourself and put your branding all over it.
Absolutely.
Support the experts.
And that was the thing you said when we did the pre-interview, when you mentioned to me, I was quite alarmed that the number one thing that ends people up in a care home is usually incontinence issues.
Well, it's right up there.
Yeah.
And if you're an older person who needs support in New Zealand, you have what's called an inter-eye assessment, which is all publicly funded. Inter-eye. It's all publicly funded supports. You have to have an assessment to access them. And for a while now, inter-eye assessments have been asking carers, do you feel stressed? And if you're stressed, what causes you to feel stressed? And often that is helping someone manage continence needs at home.
Yeah.
It can be a lot.
Oh, yeah.
It's no one's fault. It's not the person's fault. It's not the carer's fault that they're not coping. We just have to see it causes a lot of stress. And if we're serious about, helping people age in place, community-based care, not having people unnecessarily go into hospital or a rest home, then we have to look more deeply at all of this and help more.
We absolutely do. So, yeah, it's just what advice, I guess, would you have for someone who is, I guess, starting out their carer journey? That might be maybe a good way to sort of phrase it. They're starting out, they've just started caring for someone, they're feeling really lost and isolated. What's the first thing they should do?
Well, firstly, there is lots of help from community organizations and networks. You're welcome to call us. Everything we do is free for carers. Our number is 0800 777 797.
Love it.
Our website is carers.net.nz, so you can get some of that from us, even if you just need someone to listen and say, I'm really struggling with this, or what can I do about that? That can get you through the night, just having someone listen. And then, if you're somebody that's saying, I'm really not coping with this continence stuff, or the situation's escalating, or then we can immediately connect you with Continence New Zealand's helpline, and you're in the system then to get the help that's available.
To sort of really dumb it down, so when you talk again about the products that are available and the things that you can use, where do you get them from? Did Continence New Zealand give them to you? Does your doctor give them to you? Do you go to the chemist with a script for them?
You get an assessment, and then depending on your needs, that's all organized to be delivered to you.
great.
I don't think anyone gets all the products they need. And because we have a public health system, it's kind of a bulk buy approach of one size fits all, one kind suits all, which I don't agree with. I mean, to me, there's different products for different needs, and we should be better at supporting people to have the products they actually need. So that's a different conversation. But lots of different products changing all the time. I'm interested in the environmental impacts of continence and have been talking to Continence New Zealand about the choices people are making at home. Should they have washables? What does that mean for all the chemicals going into the environment? What's happening with the growing range of disposable products and wipes going into our sewer systems and our landfills? So we're working with Continence New Zealand to maybe do some work to understand that better, and for all of us in the community to understand what our continence choices mean for the people working at the landfills, for our sewage system, for the fatbergs going into our
they're disgusting, aren't they?
Well, it's becoming a big issue here in New Zealand too, but we aren't connecting the dots very well about what, the demographic changes that are leading to more of that.
That's such a good point, because people always think about nappies for babies, but
nappies too.
There's the other side of the other end of the spectrum,
and
which
they're
is what
bigger,
you just described.
much bigger,
way bigger.
Yeah,
that's a really good point that you make there. And some of those products, I remember you saying that there used to be just the pads, but now you can actually get quite pretty looking underwear and that sort of thing these days, can't you?
Yes, that is a good choice. The washable options, which include like the underpads, bedding, actual underwear. Some of them are very pretty, including some that are made here in New Zealand.
Even better.
Yes.
By New Zealand made.
Yes.
I love that. But that's the thing. It's
I almost did a plug there, but I won't go quite that far.
Why not?
Well, Confitex is a New Zealand company that does do pretty washable underwear. There's one option. There's washable swimwear, so that if you go into a pool, for all ages, you don't have to worry about, oh my God, what if something leaks out of my pants and embarrasses me terribly and causes a public hygiene incident. It's Continence New Zealand can give you advice about all of that.
There's just so many avenues of things to be thinking about, but all of this information is actually there if you just ask for it, right?
It is, and I think people do feel lonely. They do feel isolated. They think it's only them. It's really not. Literally thousands and thousands of other Kiwis are living with us. And, it isn't perfect, the help that's available. We need to do more. But we do live in a country with a public health system with experts who can help. So,
what do you do if you're a carer and you're at home and you're isolated and you're yourself suffering depression? As you said, the rates are really high for depression and anxiety, and you need somebody to talk to, but you can't leave the house. Is there any service?
There's a lot. I think that's one of the things that we do is we don't get free counselling for carers like they have in Australia, but there are a lot of different options, people you can talk to, places you can call, free or low-cost counseling. So we've got that information that we can give to any carer who would like to know more.
100%. And that I think that is the key message that I'm finding through these conversations that we're having, is that people are just not asking for help, are they? This is a tough conversation to have, and people are so scared to just reach out and say, I'm just not coping.
Or if they do ask, they aren't given the right information, or they're given it way later than they should be. Like, for anyone listening, if you have any kind of health or disability need, including continence, you need to request a needs assessment, because there are various kinds of help available, and don't leave it until you're burned out or something happens. Get the help early, because you might avoid some of the
Because there is respite available in some cases and that sort of thing.
There's respite funding. Yeah, not enough. Respite is a very thorny area. But
it's crazy, isn't it?
You should know what's available. You should take advantage of it early. And also, I don't know who might be listening to this, but employers should know that 1 in 8 of all their staff are carers. And so we're trying 1 in 8. So we're trying to work with more employers to say you have a responsibility to help people at an early stage. Know that help like Continence New Zealand or Carers New Zealand exists. What we do is free. We're happy to walk alongside you to give you things to share out to your staff. And even for the staff who aren't carers now, some will be. And everyone knows a carer. So come and talk to us.
Absolutely. And you're just, you're highlighting how important it is for there to be a hub like yours where people can come and get that support and help. And it's not just the incontinence issues, that's all of the stuff
It's a huge range of issues. And
really
carers are such a big, diverse community. And I suppose the other thing to remember is that, often these days we're living longer with higher levels of support need in the community than past generations. So we can expect maybe to care more than once in our lives. More than 40% of carers support more than one person. More than 40% of carers have a health condition or disability themselves while supporting at least one other person. So, this really does affect all of us, and it's becoming more complex. And it's really a woman's issue. 2/3 of carers are women. Yeah. So lots of issues just in that around employment and earning and saving for retirement. So
yeah, I was particularly interested in the survey that you mentioned. What was that again, and how can people take part in that should they wish to do so next time?
So we've done our second one. So it's called the State of Caring Survey. It's based on similar things that have been done for a long time by care peak bodies in other countries. Mm-hmm. And so Carers New Zealand and the Alliance have gathered all this feedback from all ages, all corners of New Zealand. They've generously taken an hour to complete this 75-question survey, but it gives us rich data to know what they do, how they feel about their role, what help would make a difference for them. So our second one is being analyzed by Synergia currently, and it will be out soon.
Fantastic. If you could say anything right now to people who are listening around your work and around anything to do with caring or incontinence, what would you like to leave people with other than the fact that you're there?
Well, I think it's a message to carers and everyone who has a carer in their life that, it is hard. It can be very hard to be a family carer. Not everyone can automatically be suited to doing what can be a tough role. Carers are not saints. They're not martyrs. They need a hug sometimes. They need a cookie sometimes. They need to be seen and they need to be listened to, not just once, but, really... Yeah, it's okay if you need support and listening, and you should get that if you're a carer. And also, if you're a friend or family member of a carer, I think of a British campaign where Carers UK interviewed the carer, how are they? And then they interviewed someone close to the carer. And the carers, of course, were all, we're fine, it's all good. And then the friend or family member would be interviewed, and they would say, well, they're fine. But then they re-interviewed them. I'd love to do a campaign like that in New Zealand.
Do it.
Saying to the carers, well, how are you really? And mostly, it wasn't so rosy. And I think, we just have to see that human face of carers and look after them better too.
You're so right. And people just do it so silently. I worked with a guy who, he was a young man too, would have been about 21, 22, and he was working a full-time job, but he was also caring for his mother who'd been sick most of his life. And he would sometimes go home at lunchtime and check on her, but she basically would just sit at home and wait for him to come home. And that was how they lived. And he was such a lovely, gentle, softly spoken boy, and has such a strong sense of responsibility on his shoulders. And I was thinking to myself, gosh, what a lovely young man. But it was because of the character building aspects of what growing up like that was for him, right?
Yes, and I think with the men, maybe a last word for the men is we have had quite a few calls over the years from men saying, I work full time and, we go into the lunchroom or whatever we call it in New Zealand. And I talk about caring and my colleagues don't get it. And they say, well, we've got kids or, just toughen up. But,
of course.
We're not machines. We're just human beings, and it can be hard. So we all need to be nice to each other. And when these things happen, which they do to all of us, whether it's for a short time or for a lifetime, let's look out for each other.
You're so right, Laurie. Thank you so much for joining me. Laurie Hilsgen from Carers NZ. The website again?
Our website is carers.net.nz.
And what was the 0800 number?
0800 777 797.
Easy to remember.
Yes.
Check out the website for all the resources that you need. And I hope for this conversation with Laurie, it's really helped to really normalise that this is not just for some people. This is going to be for everybody at some point in their lives. Support is available. Information is available. We'll continue to explore continence topics throughout this podcast series. But if you would like to delve deeper, do head to continence.org.nz or call the Continence Helpline, as Laurie has suggested, 0800 650 659. The team there are ready to answer all of your questions. They talk about this all day long. It is their expert topic. And of course, you can talk to your GP or specialist and ask for help. So asking for help is a strength and not a weakness, right, Laurie? Thank you again for joining me.
Thank you.
Lovely to see you. And we'll catch you next time. Mā te wā. Take care.